still able to clinch the 2005 Toyota Atlantic Championship each half season to date. 2, the number of potential champions as we start today's event. Either Charles Walsman or Tony Kasmans will leave today wearing the laurels of triumph. 1, the number of chances for the Dutchman or the Estonian to capture the crown, signifying the ultimate achievement of the world's most prestigious open-wheel development series. It all comes down to the last race of the season on the famed Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The 12th and final round of the 32nd edition of the Toyota Atlantic Championship is next, right here on Speed. As we get ready for today's race, the points board tells 2 stories. First, after 11 rounds, that's Walsman and Kasmans are separated by a mere 26 points. And second, that a third driver should have been challenging for the crown. Unfortunately, Andreas Wirth, driving the yellow number 8, was involved in an incident during a warm-up session for last week's race and sustained a back injury significant enough to prevent his driving today. And the scene in the pits at Road America was somber indeed as Wirth returned from the hospital to inform team owner John Brooks that the season was over for the young German. He is expected to fully recover, but he'll need to wait for next year to complete his quest for an Atlantic Championship. You are riding on board with Charles Walsman, who could be moments away from claiming the mantle of champion. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Montreal. I'm Greg Creamer, and along with expert commentator Jan Bikas and our pit reporter Rick DeBrule, it is truly my pleasure to bring you the conclusion to a season that has been nothing short of breathtaking, and we expect nothing short of the same here today. Let's get you right to the starting lineup. David Martinez, his first pole, swept every session, stole points from Tony Kasmans, who still qualified second, perhaps clear of trouble, important for a man who has but one mission.
You can certainly say that Tony Kasmans has had a wild up-and-down season in the Toyota Atlantic Championship, but here's the important point. Tonys is still alive in the championship, and Tonys, you need some help, but how do you approach this weekend?
We came to this weekend only one goal in mind, winning a championship, winning a race, and we're going flat out afterwards, and whatever happens, happens with Charles, but we are here to win the championship.
A look at row 2 inside the Toronto winner Antoine Bissett, a local favorite, and 3-time winner Katherine Legge. Row 3, points leader Charles Walsman and Al Unser the third. And for our points leader, the question has to simply be, what is your strategy at the start?
For Charles Walsman, the 2005 Toyota Atlantic Championship comes down to the first lap of this final race. It's critical that he makes it not only through the first lap, but more importantly, the first turn. You've been bumped more than a few times this season in that first turn, so here's the question. Do you tiptoe, do you take it safe, or do you go all out?
I'm going to be smart about it. I don't want to be kamikaze in the first corner and lose the championship, so but you never know. You cannot really prepare for the first corner. You always have to anticipate it.
You're not going to be crossing your fingers, though.
A little bit.
And we move to row 4. Kyle Kelly and Eric Jensen, a local favorite, making a 7 start here. Row 5, Dan Selznick and Chris Soliotis. Row 6, Lee Atkins, our C2 pole winner, and Darrell Liskey, the Road America C2 winner. And row 7, our 99 C2 champ, Bob Siska. The story this morning has been, in a word, weather. More on that, let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Well, after an absolutely beautiful weekend of weather, great skies, 80 degrees. This morning we woke up, it was raining. In fact, the track was very wet. This morning it was soaked. Antoine Bissett went off during the morning session. It was so wet, in fact, that Tony Kasmans didn't even go out. And now the problem is the track is drying. Still a little wet, but not completely dry. What do you do for this race? That'll be an interesting thing to find out for these guys. Jan?
Certainly a case where they're going to have to make some decisions. A great view from Tony Kasmans. Look, you have dry section, you have a wet section. They're talking about starting this race side by side. I think you got to do it single file. You can't have on slick tires some guys on wet, some on dry.
It's going to be interesting indeed as we're on board with Kasmans and now on board with Al Unser. Those are our other camera shots. And we are coming up to the green. We are green. The final round of this season is underway. On board with Zolzman, heading into turn 1, this quick right-hander, and then 2, this Carlos Bobeda, who's watching his driver with great interest here this first lap. Crucial. And Martinez doing a nice job. Kasmans tucked right in. And look at Bissett trying to go around the outside of Kasmans. Nice job. Bissett now wisely tucks in and takes third.
What a fantastic start. This is a development series where you're on slick tires and you're trying. You see Eric Jensen going up on the wet line. That was some fantastic driving. All these cars are on not very warm, slick tires. Some were on a wet line. hats off to the drivers. Very well done.
Exceptional job on board with Al Unser, the BOSpoker.net Swift, as he's running right now. Qualified in the 6th spot, his 4th time he has done that this year, and doing a nice job. There's Katherine Legge in 4th, then Unser now up into 5th at this stage, and we hop on board with Walsman, who just riding through this first lap. It is so key. He let Unser go. It's probably a smart move, and Walsman just looking to finish this lap, and if he does that, championship. He will have earned it, and it will be well earned indeed. He's got to get through it here. Martinez leads. Kazmans has got to get to the front, and he's starting to chomp at the bit just a little bit, but he's got to be a little careful of Bissett, who's right there and looks to be pretty interested in sweeping a couple of these Canadian races.
But Charles Walsman at the back of the picture here only has 2 corners to go through. It's the final chicane off the back straightaway. I know he's already breathing a sigh of relief. And championship in the offing.
And Kazmans going for the lead down the inside. Martinez lets him go. Kazmans makes it through, makes the pass in that chicane. Kazmans is your new leader, but watch that blue car in the background out of the final turn. Looking to the back. There comes an attempt by Bissett to get by. Can't get it done. And Walsman has crossed the finish line, and he is your new champion as we are on board with Tonis Kazmans, who now is just going for the race win.
And you heard from Tonis that the only thing that we can do is go out and win this championship as best we can, and where the cards fall, they may. Of course, they've fallen for Walsman.
That is our champion. We are riding on board with Walsman, and it has been well earned indeed. The young Dutchman has been brilliant. Welcome back to Montreal, where Tonis Kazmans is in the lead. Now, the interesting thing is, as we watch Kazmans, who's opened it up a little bit over Martinez, who has Antoine Bissett, the local driver, now from Montreal, native of nearby San Bruno, really hounding him in this battle for second. And then Katherine Legge, then Al Unser and Walsman. But with Walsman now champion, he's free to go after anything he wants and not have to worry about it. And I understand they did a little work on the car here recently to try and help him.
They've been changing a lot of things on the car. He is slow on the straightaway. The speed trap shows 7 miles an hour. Obviously, first thing you do is you change the engine. That didn't help. They changed the gearbox.
Whoa, Martinez!
Oh.
And there's what you were talking about, just offline a little bit, locked up, hit that wet patch, skated wide. Bissett is through and into second, and Katherine Legge's got a good run on Martinez. And this is an area here possible to pass, but you've got to be brave, and you're going to be offline under that bridge where it's very wet. And I think she wisely went, nah, this isn't the spot.
It's a case for Martinez where they said, we are sure that this race is going to be dry. He started on a dry setup. I think that's hurting. Rick?
I just want to talk about Charles Walsman and the fact that they changed some of the gearbox this morning between the warm-up and the race itself. And the reason being is they were hoping for a wetter track than what they've got. They were thinking really the only chance, because they're down on power, to do any significant damage to everybody else was to hope for that wet track. So they went for a full wet setting with the gearbox, hoping that would pull it off. And unfortunately, it hasn't been wet enough.
Yeah, it is now just drying up quickly out there as we hop on board with Walsman, driving the Continental Cartage Swift. He is champion, but he's not going to be happy in 6, and showing the nose a little bit to Unser, trying to rattle him just a little bit as we go down through that final chicane. A very quick right-left complex exit right up to the wall, and Walsman rocketing by in front of what has to be an incredibly happy team owner, Rick.
Well, standing by here with Carlos Bobeda, you know, who would have thought? You guys were disqualified at this first race in Long Beach, even though you were on the pole because of a minor mistake the team made. Here we are 12 races later. Did you really think you were going to pull off a championship?
Well, yes and no. First, we know we had the right driver. We know we had the engineering, and we were fast, but we didn't have a program. The Long Beach was testing the waters for the driver and the team and everybody, and we didn't put a deal together until almost a month afterwards. When we went to Mexico City, we actually consolidated the deal about 3 days before.
So how's it feel?
I can't describe it. We've been looking for this for too long, and finally came together. Thank you to the rule changes where now a lot of effort pays off.
That's the first time I've heard a team owner thank rule changes.
Well, we wanted these rule changes for a long time.
All right, thanks. Carlos Bobeda, happy to be a team-owning champion.
All right, and we have a lead change as well, as Bissett has gone underneath Kazmits and taken that point away. So it is now Bissett, then Kazmits, then Martinez, then Legge. And big moment here for Antoine Bissett. As I said, a local driver. He won Toronto, but this is the one that he must have been chomping for. And boy, what a great sequence of laps he has put together to first sneak underneath Martinez, put the pressure on and force Martinez into a mistake, and now has gone by Kazmits.
Well, consider the track conditions. The first few laps, once they got in single file and got the tires warmed up, were 145, which is 10 seconds slower than they qualified. Now they're down in the 140s. So people that had setups that were more conducive to the dry are going to start going to the front. David Martinez should be one of them. And obviously, Antoine Bissett, maybe his setup somewhere in between.
Well, he certainly has used it to great effect, and if you can get to the front, you can catch him, but it's a whole different thing passing, as the old adage goes. It's going to be interesting. There's a look at Katherine Legge. Just a stunning season for her as well. 3 wins, including the other Canadian round in Edmonton, and a breakout win in Long Beach. And for Kazmits, he's had 3 wins as well. He has always been very fast and extremely exciting. And well, I'll tell you what, he did everything he could at Road America but a week ago to keep himself in the points hunt. But now he had some problems at certain points in the season that cost him points, and that's where it ended up, really.
Interesting for Kazmits, he did not even participate in the warm-up this morning, confident that it would be dry, didn't want to spend the time out in the wet. Obviously, that's pretty good prediction, but the track's not totally dry yet.
And big lockup from Tony's Kazmits into the famous hairpin here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And here is a look at the goings-on at nearby Fort Stewart on Ile Sainte-Aline. We'll be right back. And we are on board with Charles Walsman once again, our new champion. Problem is, he's in 6th. He is still not able to get by Al Unser. And if you take a look, he has a, whoa, and he gets in really hot, locks up as he skated onto the grass, Jan, now through the gravel, and able to regain it. But there you go, just push it a little hard on this dicey track, and off he goes.
Well, it's somewhat hard, and he's definitely going to lose one more spot. Kyle Kelly comes by. But it's a case where he obviously has heard on the radio. He knows that he's the champion. They have worked hard for this. You know, it's tough to regain your focus and think, wait a minute, I got a race to try and win here. A little aggressive in a place where he lost some downforce on the front, but it's more a case of catching a little bit of water, losing adhesion on the left-hand side, just got on a little bit of damp piece of pavement, and obviously did the wise thing and went straight and try and thread it through that chicane.
That now has cost him a spot. He is now in 7th spot. That is Kyle Kelly in front of him. And on board now with Al Unser looking back. And you can see the margin that
Nice
has exploded. Yeah, I mean, that's how much time he lost, simply put. And now he's got to try and work his way by Kyle Kelly. And Kyle Kelly has proven to be a bit of a street fighter this year. He was very quick at San Jose until a mechanical problem took him out of it. So Zolzman's job, not an easy one at this stage, as we hop on board now with Kazmits in 2nd.
Antoine Bissett is pulling out a nice margin here. Quicker each and every lap. In fact, he's now dipped into the 38s. Kazmits still back in the 139s.
Matter of fact, Martinez now starting to close in just a bit on Kazmits, so this battle for 2nd might come on. There's Martinez, and Katherine Legge certainly well in it as well.
Again, for David Martinez, it's been an absolutely fantastic weekend as far as all the sessions, and he told me we are going to start the race on an absolutely, completely full, dry setup. We're not going to do anything for the wet conditions. So obviously the sun's starting to come out. It's starting to dry. One would think that if they did go that route, he, near the end of the race, should be lightning fast.
Well, every time there's been a money session, Martinez has been the guy this weekend. But let's take a look at what Antoine Bissett has been able to do at Toronto. Ducked down underneath, picked up the lead from Martinez, and ended up with the win. However, at San Jose, a corner that bit a lot of drivers, bit Bissett there, and then had this off at Road America, contact with another car while he was running third. And certainly a podium in hand, knocked off the track, but it certainly hasn't dampened his enthusiasm, and it certainly hasn't affected his ability watching him lead here at home in Montreal.
And of course, you look at that Toronto. What a nice follow-up to Toronto would be another Canadian victory. And of course, he is very popular in this region, being from this province, and just a very likable guy. I talk about how loosey-goosey he is, but you know, in these kind of conditions, that's a fantastic attitude to have.
Yeah, he is. He's just a joy to visit with in the paddock at any time. There is Katherine Legge, who sits right now in the 4th spot, but she is hounding David Martinez. Rick?
Down here with Shane Senavarata, the team owner. Let's talk about the fact that David Martinez lost a few spots at the beginning, but now he seems to be gaining it back. Is it just because the track's drying coming into him?
Yeah, we anticipated the track to dry out. Obviously, the lap times are about 5 seconds off at the start of the race, and they're dropping about half a second to a second every lap. And we're hoping the car would come into us. David's done a great job, so, you know, we're going to keep our fingers crossed, and he'll bring it home on the podium.
So the car's there, you just got to wait for the track to come in, huh?
Yeah, the car is ready. We didn't make much changes. We got the same setup we had for qualifying, just waiting for the track to come in.
And the team owner waiting for a first win.
Yeah, and that Roche-France car, when it is dry, has been unbelievably quick. And what a great name for a team. U.S. Racetronics gives you a little, that's their approach, very data-driven. And obviously, it has proven to be very successful, certainly on some of the street courses in particular, where he has been very fast with that pole here, sort of proving that to be the case here. Bissett continues to lead. Casman's closing it back up again just a little bit. And here is Martinez sitting in the 3rd spot here right now. And speaking of running in the 3rd spot, he's had 3 podiums already this year, starting off in Mexico. And he showed in Toronto that he can scrap with the best of them, having a great run there. And then at Road America, this brilliant late corner braking drafting pass, getting by Al Unser for a podium finish. Just an absolutely stellar year for this young rookie, and he has proven that he is going to be a major player, certainly in the future. And David Martinez right now sitting in 3rd, and a patient 3rd, I guess.
But he's also engineered by his uncle, Rodolfo Martinez, who was the engineer, funny enough, for his father in Formula 3, and they're starting to hit their stride and coming up with great setups.
And paying off big time here. There's Bissett, Casmans, and Martinez, your top 3 here in Montreal, with Katherine Legge and Al Unser 4th and 5th.
While the racing action may be happening on the track, this is the Nerve Center. Welcome to Race Control. Now, in here, the Toyota Atlantic officials have a bank of TV monitors so they can watch literally every turn. Now, they're also in contact with observers at every turn by radio, and they have radios to contact the teams as well. The man at the center of the storm, well, that's race director Casey Van Nyman. His job is to take in all that information and then make decisions in real time. The ultimate goal of all this, to make sure that all the action that happens out on the track is both fair and safe.
And it's not always the most enviable or popular job in the world, but it is always one of the absolute most crucial at any racetrack. And I'll tell you what, these Champ Car officials and KC and Cliff Dawson, who handle the Atlantic responsibilities in particular, just an absolutely superb crew doing the job here. Meanwhile, watching the racing, Bissett, Casman's coming back after him a little bit. They've gapped Martinez. And watching the times here, Martinez has been a couple of tenths off Casman's times these last couple of laps, and Casman's has been a couple of tenths quicker than Bissett.
It begs the question for Antoine Bissett, is he on more of a wet setup? And now that these cars are Kyle Kelly, after a great run, off the course.
Unbelievable once again, such a strong effort on a street course, and finds himself in trouble at this stage. Meanwhile, back on board with Tony Casmans as he is chasing Antoine Bissett and chasing him down. But we saw the problems for Kyle Kelly. Rick, any word?
Kyle just had a real tough weekend. You know, they changed motors just before the weekend started because they were down on power. Then he got hit going into one of the turns yesterday, but during qualifying, as a result, he and his dad, and that's the team, were up until midnight last night working on the car. They finally got it back together. They were hoping for one last good run in this series. And unfortunately, obviously not going to get it.
And we've seen all season he's had that white helmet, which you just don't see, and now it's been painted. So that is a small thing, but he's taken our advice and has a distinctive paint color. But talk about distinctive colors. The orange and the yellow here are going into battle. Antoine Bassett as well as Tonys Kasemets. And again, it does beg the question, has Antoine Bassett gone with a bit of a wet setup, and now the track is drying? We've got two other guys that seem to have chosen a different route.
Starting to go off perhaps just a little bit. Richter Brule, what's the word from the Bassett pits?
Well, down here with Bruce Potter, the team owner and engineer for Antoine Bassett, and let's ask the big question. Is he on a wet or a dry setup?
Well, we decided since it looked like the conditions were going to dry, we've got pretty much a dry setup on, just put a little bit more wing in it so we can get through the start of the race.
Now, as the track begins to dry, do you wish you had that drier setup? Is that going to hurt him as Tonys tries to make a run on him?
Well, hopefully the track's going to come to us as well. I think we're going to keep getting quicker, just a matter of whether the wing helps us or hurts us in the draft.
Has he said anything out there yet?
No, so far he's just keeping his head down and driving.
Good thing at this point.
Boy, and a big wiggle under braking coming under the bridge, which is leading into an important sequence of corners, turn 8 and 9, which is where you build speed if you get out of there well into this long hairpin in the braking zone, one of the best overtaking areas. And Kasemets is close, but not close enough.
Antoine Bassett gets off the hairpin very, very well, but when Bruce was talking about the aerodynamic downforce, if you add a little bit of downforce here, that will give something of an edge to Kasemets for a pass.
And for Kasemets, he had a couple wins in Portland, but then he had some horrible luck with a broken shifter and a big lead in San Jose. And as a result, it was do or die in the final lap in Denver, and he went for it, had that moment, but great run, dominant run at Road America, and he and Katherine Legge early in the going. Once the race started, had a battle, but then Kasemets, well, he just settled in at the front and earned every possible maximum point to keep him in the championship hunt. It just wasn't quite enough here, but I'll tell you what, nobody is more exciting on the track or more fun off the track than Tonys Kasemets.
You think about Denver, you think about what could have been. I know he doesn't want to look back, but you see that replay of the final corner on the final lap. You got to applaud his aggression and going for the win. Now that you've had a chance to look back and think about it, you're just thinking, boy, if I just would have taken second, it would have been a different ball game.
Would have, but boy, he had a great, that's his style. Go for it all. The driver from Parnu, Estonia. Second in a championship. Not too bad. And those Yokohama Advan Racing slicks have proven their worth today, as they have been dealt with wet, they've been dealt with dry, they've been dealt with a mix, and have come through it absolutely superbly, as they have all season long, in fact, for many years.
For Charles Walsman, obviously he knows that he's the champion, but consider one of the next cars that he's going to drive will be a champ car. The champion does get a champ car ride in Mexico City, and so even if this race doesn't turn out for a win, it's going to be a championship, and he knows he has a car with a lot of straight line speed in his future.
Big time speed, yeah, it's going to be very exciting for Charles Walsman. I'll tell you what, he is one of the most cool, calm, calculating guys. Talking to the team, when he gets out of the car, they said the information you get from him is, it's just so pure, no emotion. He's very calm and collected and doesn't make lots of mistakes. I think he is going to be very, very easily adaptable to running in champ cars without a doubt. On board with Tonys Kasemets. Rick, what's the story for our second place runner?
Well, down here in the Kasemets pits where everybody is a volunteer, including the engineer, Alan O'Leary. And let's talk about what kind of setup that Tonys is on. I assume he was on the dry setup because he didn't even go out in the rain this morning.
Correct, yeah. We're back to where we qualified yesterday, so car seems to be good, but the set's on a mission here. He's on home turf just like us last weekend, so we're going to have to be on our game here to get by him.
Now, before the race, we were talking, what's more important, the victory or second place in the championship?
Both. If we get the victory, second place takes care of itself. But it's, the whole team have done an unbelievable job this year. Like you said, it's a group of volunteers who have come together to help Tonys out. And, Augie Pabst, Jerome Guimond, Stuart Moore, Rick Bertusca, Dan Cobb, all of these people deserve, a lot of credit. So.
And also we're seeing some traffic that is going to come into play here, and Bassett working through some of that traffic right now. Looks like he actually maybe got lucky there, timed it beautifully, got a nice pass done into turns 1 and 2. They leave the door through for Kasemets. He's able to sneak through, doesn't lose a lot of time, but does a bit.
It's always a case of it's a bit of a lottery. Sometimes things fall your way, sometimes they do not. But it appears as though, looking ahead to Antoine Bessette, that traffic in that particular section went all Antoine's way.
Yeah, he got both the cars in front of him. He was able to get by cleanly before a corner, and you can see Kasmets right now has to go offline onto that little bit of damp, very careful, a little bit slower, and that it may only be a tenth or two, but those tenth or twos, when we talk about making those back up, it's brutal.
It is tough. It's very tough to get those back. We do know from the pits now that Antoine is carrying a little extra wing, which means that that Tonys Kasmets could have a chance to draft by him, but you got to be close to do that, and that's the tough thing. You got to get close enough to pick up a draft, and that might help.
And for working traffic, that is going to pay off nicely for that wing for Bessette. Having to go offline into damp will be able to work. Now, if the race were to end right now, you see Zolzman is champion, Kasmets would be second, but third is by no means settled. Bessette right now would end up tied with Katherine Legge. It would come down, if it ends up being tied, I believe, to wins, and she's got 3. This would be his second. She would still win it, but any problems here for Katherine Legge in that third place in the championship is without a doubt not secure by any means. She now, too, working through some traffic as she runs in a very solid 4th spot.
And a fantastic start for her today. And I just can't tell you how difficult it is to do a start on wet conditions. I mean, it was wet offline. Yeah. And all these drivers started this race today on slicks that weren't hot. And a person like Katherine Legge, who's had very, very aggressive starts this year, they all behave themselves very well. Hats off.
She's learned, and she reined it in when she needed to, and it paid off with big dividends, and she is well in the hunt to still get a 3rd place in the Toyota Atlantic Championship in her 1st season running it. Tell you what, folks, that speaks volumes. Riding on board with Al Unser III to BOSPoker.net, Swift currently running in the 5th spot at this stage of the race. He had a very solid run at Road America and has really come on just a little bit in the latter part of the season as we take a look at what he's done earlier this year. Great battle with Kyle Kelly in Denver, and then he had another awesome battle with David Martinez. Watch this at Road America. Draft, redraft, pass, repass. He ended up settling for 4th, but boy, not without a great fight, as you can see right there, banging wheels around the track. Al Unser III. He is on, folks, and he is currently running in the 5th spot right now. Rick?
I want to talk about the fact that Al Unser III had been racing this entire season with a metal screw in his thumb because of an accident that happened last year while he was out on a motorcycle. He broke his thumb, and as a result, he's had to have a screw in there the entire year. That is scheduled to come out this week, but think about the pain associated with that. He says, I just, get a little extra Tylenol every weekend and make my way through it.
Tell you what, those Unsers do like their off-road vehicles. They like to get out there in the wilderness out there in New Mexico and enjoy it a lot, but every once in a while they bite.
Yeah, we'll try to stay away from the screw-loose jokes there, but it is a case where sometimes guys actually become more focused when they got a bit of pain. We've seen some drivers sick this year have some of the best performances of the season.
On board with Kasmets, and now you can see Bessette merely a dot up there in the distance. The margin now, Jan, almost 2 seconds, and some of that has been certainly traffic, in which Bessette has been handling exceptionally well. Catching it certainly at the right times. I mean, it's a matter of luck sometimes, but he's executed in traffic very well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously sometimes things come your way, but you also need to force the issue. There were a couple times there he forced the issue when he needed to, and it has really helped.
Here's a look at Katherine Legge, who has dropped back a little bit as they've been working through this pack of traffic. Both she and Martinez have lost a bit of ground, and especially for Katherine at this stage, but she is comfortably in the 4th spot. Rick?
Well, it's been kind of a rough weekend for Katherine. She really hasn't been happy with the setup this weekend or trying to find the right setup.
Yeah, I think this track is pretty technical, and she, being a rookie, has really struggled a little bit trying to find her way around it. She's doing a good job, though.
Happy that she's going to at least make it through the season, a full season that she didn't anticipate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was good we got to the end. We need to get to the end of this race now.
A few laps away.
Yeah, and for that team, Polestar Racing and Jim Griffith, Katherine 3 wins, Bessette 1. That's 4 total, maybe a 5th here if Bessette can hang on. And Katherine Legge has been a revelation this year with her 3 wins, beginning at Long Beach, then Edmonton and San Jose. It has been spectacular for Katherine in her first appearance, as we said. Long Beach, a great victory right out of the box, then repeated it at Edmonton and then at San Jose. And she not only eclipsed all of the women in motorsport, but seemed poised to take a run at the championship. However, at Denver, a costly stop and problems there. And now taking the lead at Road America, it was short-lived. She had a hard charging Tony's Casmans right there, but she stayed close, had a very solid run. And there is Kevin Kalkoven, who is not only the co-owner of Champ Car, but also of PKV Racing. And they are the group that's sort of footing the bill to make sure that she runs here. And they've got to be awfully proud of what their charge, if you will, has achieved this year.
Oh, they are. And in fact, Kevin has obviously, he's her personal sponsor and is arranging tours across Europe with both she and Justin Wilson. I mean, he's not just saying, okay, I'll give you some sponsorship to put you in the car. He's definitely providing opportunities for promotion and really trying to work it into. And again, I don't think, some people said, hey, let's throw her in a Champ Car. And I think he has enough wherewithal to say, she needs more time. It's fine with me.
He's right. Let her develop those skills, hone them, and when she's ready, she'll get the ride. She's proving that's not going to be too far down the road. On board now with Al Unser as he sits in the 5th spot. There he is, and he is coming up and working on some traffic, I believe, right now. Just got to get the right draft to be able to slip on through.
Dan Selznick ahead of him there, and obviously some of the other 4 cars have been through, and look what happens. Oh, it's a case where he went underneath the bridge where it was a little bit late, a little bit wet, excuse me.
Is that Eric Jensen who made? Check that. That was 63 Daryl Linsky who tried to jump on that opportunity, Jan, and it cost him big.
They're starting to say that he went underneath the bridge where it was wet, right when he hit the brakes. Watch, that's the slick section, and the moment he does, it locks up the brakes. He can't turn, makes the contact with Selznick, and boy, that was a tight needle to thread. There we go.
There you go. It got through it, and then Linsky tried to split the difference there and shoot by in the grass, and he hit that wet grass. Of course, then those hot slicks now in that wet grass, nothing. Back end came around, and he lost a lot of ground. But good aggressiveness from Al Unser trying to get through that traffic right now as he's trying to stay in touch with Katherine Legge, but right now he is the better part of 10 seconds back. So watch it from the onboard here.
Obviously, you lose the signal just as he goes underneath the bridge, and once the brakes are locked, you just simply cannot turn. Obviously, if they're not rotating, they won't turn, and certainly can't blame Dan Selznick. He left room, but didn't know that Unser was going to catch some water and get him locked and go straight.
The good news is they just touched side to side, didn't climb over anybody, so everybody's able to continue. Apparently no harm, no foul, other than problems in time. And that may be the difference right there as we jump back up to the front of the pack. Antoine Bissett currently leads this one. However, was a couple laps ago, Tony's Casmans, by the way, set the fast lap of the race at a 1:36 flat, and he has been running now again consistently quicker than Bissett, and has trimmed that margin from well over 2 seconds to 1.8. So Bissett closing. It's not a lot, but he's coming.
No, I think it's a case certainly where if he can continue this type of speed, that he should have a chance to get into the draft, as Jensen's getting some repair on the rear wing.
Yeah, he came in, and apparently one of the wing supports had broken. I don't know whether there was a little nudge or whether it just broke, but he is in his 3rd Atlantic race this season, but as I said, his 7th Toyota Atlantic Championship event here at Montreal, where he calls home, and this is not how you want that to happen on your home track.
No, it's definitely not, but not every hometown hero can have his day, but we certainly think that Antoine Bissett is well underway as long as he can keep this gap here to Tony's Casmans of bringing home some hometown cheer.
Well, and he's got 5 laps that he needs to hang on, Rick.
Well, I want to talk about the fact that it is indeed hometown for Antoine Bissett, and what a busy weekend it's been. It seems like every time I turn around in their paddock area, their garage area, he is standing there having his picture taken with somebody. He's had friends coming by, people he barely knows. His sponsor, Unique Design, is here. They've had people coming by. It's sort of the blessing and the curse of that race in your hometown. You enjoy it until it actually happens.
Yeah, all the exposure, and I mean, it's good, obviously, for your program, but it can be a little distracting. But I tell you what, we have not seen one whit of that from the time this green flag flew, as Bissett has been absolute magic on the track here. You can see now that Casmans has continued to close it up. He has taken another 2/10 off. It's now down to 1.6 seconds. and so he is definitely on the prowl. And once it gets dry like this with these long straight runs here and not having to get offline, deal with traffic, which would hurt Kazmets, wonder if that little bit of extra wing is just slowing Antoine down a little bit too much right now on the straights.
Well, I think the wing will help him, but it's going to hurt him only if Tony Kazmets can get close enough, and that's going to be tricky. It's one thing to kind of close in, but he'll start to lose a little bit of aerodynamic downforce from the wash of the car ahead. But it's looking good for Kazmets right now.
Yeah, he's definitely coming after him just a little bit. The margin has now shrunk by, a big chunk as Kazmets ran a half second quicker that last lap. The gap now is a second even. Tony Kazmets, boy, shades of Denver, he's coming on, folks. Don't go anywhere. And we are looking at Tony Kazmets' crew, and that is one intensely focused group. And the one thing Kazmets did not want to see in his charge after Bissett is traffic. They caught that one car, but otherwise it looks pretty clear. Going offline where it's damp, that wing, a little bit extra wing on Bissett's car certainly is going to help him in traffic. But boy, when they've been running clear of anything like that, Kazmets has been catching him in big chunks.
Tony's lost a little bit of time in that exchange, though. Again, things seem to be falling traffic-wise Bissett's way, but we still have a bit of time. There are other cars out there, but certainly it appears as though Tony's car at the end of this race is ultra fast, but he's got to get close enough. Alan O'Leary's done a fantastic job engineering that car, and he just needs to get close enough to catch that draft.
Well, for Bissett, his response to the pressure from Kazmets on that last lap, he turned to 1:36.070, 1 minute 36.0 second lap. And Kazmets' fast lap was a 1:36.000, so 7/100. So obviously Bissett able to find a little something, but boy, you can see Kazmets once again closing it up again. And when they come by, the problem is start finish this next time by, we anticipate seeing a white flag, 1 to go. So Kazmets has got to pull off a miracle here.
He only needs to take one lap to try and get close enough off the hairpin so that in this section next time around he can be close enough to draft, and that is a possibility. He can do it.
Here they go, the final chicane onto the front straight. Last time by, the margin was 0.8. Leading crew comfortable. They lag the margin up now to 1.1. So Bissett able to respond and open it up to over a second. So now, yeah, Kazmets needs help.
He does need some help, and you could see it. He came off the final chicane there, and something didn't go right at the exit. Just didn't seem to get the drive off of that final chicane. It's not over. He has an opportunity to really push in some of these remaining corners. But boy, I didn't like the exit on turn 15. That was just something that you really need to get a good drive on, but there's still a shot.
By the way, folks, this is the final race of an era as well, a glorious area of these cars being powered by Toyota. And all of Toyota's involvement, an amazing friend in motorsports, and the guy who's going to be throwing the checkers, the director of motorsports for Toyota Motor Sales USA, Les Unger, is going to have those checkered flags. It's been 17 glorious years that Les has been involved with this series, and Toyota has been involved under his guidance. And as I said, the end of an era, and boy, I tell you, what a great era it's been, what a great season it has been. And Tony Kazmets, as you said, is not done yet. He closed up a ton, and you can see the accordion effect as he comes out of there. So is he close enough for a draft at this stage, John?
Not quite, but he's starting to pick up just a little bit of toe here. But I think that Tony Kazmets wishes he had one more lap.
Here we go, the last time into the final sequence of chicanes. Turns 12, 13, he's there. They turn in. He needs the magic right here off of the turn. No, Bissett drives out. Bissett is going to win it home. Kazmets will still get second in the championship, and Les Unger throws the checker as not only this season, but this fabulous era of Toyota Atlantic Championship competition draws to a close. And for Antoine Bissett at home, he wins his second race of the season, the other one coming in Canada as well. Boy, that's got to be sweet. And meanwhile, here he comes, Charles Walsman. Not maybe the way he wanted to have his final race go in terms of a position, a finishing result in the final race, but he won the championship. And believe me, even though he's not in the top three or with a win in this final race, that championship was hard-earned and well-earned over the season, and he has claimed it. But for Antoine Bissett, the moment is sweet indeed. The cool-down lap with a win in the final race of a series at home. So really, for the entire offseason, he's going to be remembered as the most recent winner in Toyota Atlantic Championship competition and at home. And there is your champion. Walsman has completed the race. He is your new Toyota Atlantic Championship champion. We'll be back to visit with many of them when we come back. And just a couple of moments ago, Antoine Bissett savoring perhaps the greatest moment of his young motoring career. Donuts in the hairpin here at home in Montreal. Absolutely a phenomenal drive. And he is now with Rick DeBrule.
He's just taken off the helmet, pulling off all the stuff from his ears and everything.
The hair?
His ear, a little bit of his ear and hair came off with. Let's talk about Antoine Bissett. What a busy weekend you've had. But boy, what a way to cap it off with a victory here in Montreal.
It's incredible. I didn't imagine at the beginning. I saw. Thank you. I saw both did a mistake, and I didn't lose any chance, and I did not do one mistake in the race. So I'm really, really happy. It's incredible. I won in my hometown. It's could ask more.
Couldn't ask for anything more. Great, congratulations, Antoine Bissett.
Just an absolutely fabulous season for this young Quebecois. What a future, certainly. Let's take a look at the points now. As we've established, Walsman certainly is your champion. Kazmits hangs on to second. Katherine Legge, it's a tie with Bissett, but because of victories, Katherine ends up with third in the championship, then Bissett, and then David Martinez. So very well represented. Justin Sofio clinched the C2 Cup a long time ago with Liska and Siska, third in that. Let's get right back down to Rick with our second place finisher in both the race and the championship.
Not a lot of time to talk about it, but let's talk about how that almost got him at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was very beautiful race. Very beautiful season. I'm very happy. Just perfect season. I think we're moving forward. So thanks for everybody who helps me.
Now we just got to go off in the off-season and figure out how to come back next year even stronger.
I'll tell you what, there is nobody more dedicated to it. You watched him with grease on his hands and gearbox oil everywhere. Every race he went to, nobody wants it more, works harder for it than he does. Here are the results from this final round of the Toyota Atlantic Championship for this season. Bissett, Kazmits, Martinez, Legge, and Unser are your top five. And again, some solid drives there. Walsman, a quiet sixth, but a championship earning sixth. Selznick, Eric Jensen, Chris Soliotis, and Darrell Liskey winning the C2 class. Let's get right back down to Rick DeBrule with our champion.
Indeed, the guy who's been so calm, cool, and collected all year. What do you think, man? You're a champion.
Oh, man, I don't know what to feel. I don't know what to say as well. Just it's been great this year. Condor's done an awesome job giving me a good car to compete, and it's been awesome. I don't know what to say.
After Long Beach, did you think this was possible when you got disqualified at the beginning of the season for that first race?
No, especially not before Long Beach. I wouldn't have been expecting this. Great season. Yeah, what can I say?
I just got to figure out what you're doing next year. Congratulations to Charles Walsman.
Absolutely, congratulations. We know what he's doing in, about a month and a half or so.
He's going to be driving a champ car. They said for sure he'll be in a champ car. They don't know what team. Look for him in Mexico City.
I'll tell you what, it is going to be fun to watch that one and see where this young man's path and future go. It should be spectacular because he is. There is no question of it. Antoine Bissett, what a great run as well. Remember SpeedTV.com, by the way, folks, as your online source for some great information. For Jan Begas and Rick DeBrule, I'm Greg Kramer. Thanks so much for joining us throughout this 32nd season of the world's most prestigious open-wheel development series. And reminding you that the 33rd edition is just around the corner with a brand new engine and chassis package. The Atlantis will be even more exciting than ever. Congratulations to all of the exceptional drivers and teams who have given us such a terrific season. And, of course, a special congratulations to our new champion, Charles Walsman. From Montreal, so long, everybody. And, Charles, opalai.